Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Gossips 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Luna's sister Luni had an affair with Liam. Hope shocked, wedding cancelled. The day had started with sunlight pouring through the stained glass windows of the Forrester Estate Chapel, painting the aisles in soft golds and delicate rose tones. The kind of morning that usually promises a beautiful future. A fresh beginning. A moment where two people stand before the world ready to say yes to forever. Everything looked perfect, and for a brief moment, Hope felt like she was finally stepping into that happiness she had been chasing for years. But what no one knew was that beneath that polished beauty, beneath the florals placed in symmetrical perfection, beneath the lace on Hope's dress and the steadiness in Liam's smile, an earthquake was silently rumbling. And just moments before vows were spoken, just moments before families merged again for the 100th time, the truth slammed through the room with the force of a wrecking ball. It began with a whisper, a tremble, a voice that sounded too much like pain and too much like regret. The news broke in a way that didn't feel real, that Luna's secret sister Luni Nakamura had been hiding the most devastating truth imaginable. She and Liam Spencer had slept together. Not once, not by mistake, but in an affair that had lasted long enough to shake the foundation of everything Hope believed about her fiancé. And in those first seconds when the information hit Hope's ears, the chapel grew so silent that even the flowers seemed to stop breathing. The air thickened, as if the walls themselves were holding the truth hostage, refusing to let it spread until Hope processed even an ounce of it. But the moment her eyes lifted and met Liam's, she realized it was real. The guilt in his eyes said everything his mouth hadn't. Her heart cracked instantly, not in sharp pieces but in slow, agonizing fractures that traveled through her chest like fire, consuming every memory, every promise, every whispered devotion. People turned. Guests stood. Rich froze. Brooke covered her mouth. Steffi's jaw fell open. Finn blinked hard, like even he couldn't process another scandal tied to the Spencers, especially not one involving yet another woman from Luna's chaotic family tree. And then there was Luni, standing at the very back of the chapel near the doorway, half in shadow, half in light, looking both terrified and brave, as if she had chosen that moment because she couldn't hold the weight of the secret anymore, because carrying it had finally become heavier than releasing it. Hope's world shattered in slow motion. She felt the room pull away from her, felt gravity shift, felt betrayal wrap around her throat like a cold hand. Everyone waited for her reaction. Would she scream, collapse, cry, attack, faint, run? No one knew because no one had ever seen Hope Logan face a betrayal this massive. Her tragedies had always been deep, but this was humiliation, heartbreak, and fury all wrapped into one explosive moment, all unfolding in front of the entire Forrester and Spencer dynasties. Liam tried to speak first. He lifted a hand, stepped toward her, voice trembling with desperation, pleading that it wasn't what it sounded like, that it was complicated, that he never meant for this to happen, that it happened during a dark period, a confusing moment, a night where everything felt like it was falling apart. But Hope shut down, emotionally, mentally, physically. Her expression hardened. Her eyes burned. She stared at him like she didn't recognize him, like the man she had loved for so long had turned into a stranger wearing Liam Spencer's face. And in that moment it didn't matter why he had done it. It didn't matter what confusion he had been dealing with, or what vulnerabilities he had used to justify one of the biggest betrayals of his life. All that mattered was that the man she was seconds away from marrying had slept with someone else. Someone connected to the narrative that had already destroyed so many relationships in this family. Someone tied to the drama surrounding Luna, Poppy, Lee, and every twisted secret that had bled into the Forrester world over the past year. As Hope stood before the altar, her breath shaking, her voice low but sharp enough to cut glass, she whispered the only words she could manage. "This wedding is over." The declaration hit the room like thunder. Gasps echoed from pew to aisle. Ridge let out a barely audible, "Oh my God." Brooke reached out, wanting to steady her daughter, but Hope backed away, not wanting comfort, not wanting to be touched, not wanting anything but distance. Distance from Liam, from the betrayal, from the humiliation that felt like it was pressing against every inch of her skin. Liam tried again, reaching for her hand, but Hope stepped back as if his fingertips were flame. "Don't," she said, voice trembling but strong enough to echo. "Don't touch me. Not now. Not after this." Her dress rustled as she moved, the lace, once beautiful, now feeling like a costume for a dream that had been stolen from her in an instant. Her veil slipped slightly, catching a tear before it could fall, and the symbolism of it felt cruel. Even her dress couldn't keep her intact. The cinematic weight of the moment intensified. Flowers blurred. Scenes sharpened. The whispers swelled around her like ocean waves. People trying to understand how this had happened, how this secret had stayed hidden, why Liam had risked everything when he knew Hope had already endured more heartbreak than any one woman should. And Luni, still near the doorway, tears streaming silently down her face, whispered apologies that no one could hear except maybe Luna, who stood frozen midway down the aisle, staring at her sister with disbelief. Luna had always been caught between chaos and innocence, between wanting peace and being pulled into scandals she never asked for. But this Luni having an affair with Liam was a betrayal that even Luna couldn't defend. Finn placed a gentle hand on her shoulder, grounding her as the truth sank deeper into the room. Hope felt a storm building inside her. She felt herself on the verge of exploding into anger and collapsing into heartbreak all at once. She had spent years fighting for love, for loyalty, for stability. She had given Liam countless second chances, endless forgiveness, infinite patience, and in return, he had destroyed the last shred of trust she had left to give. Her voice grew stronger when she finally turned to the guests. "I'm sorry," she said, though she wasn't the one who should be apologizing. "This is not the day any of us planned. But I refuse to marry someone who lies to me, who betrays me, who pretends to love me while sleeping with someone else." Liam tried to interject, saying it wasn't an affair, that it was a moment of weakness, a mistake, something he wished he could undo. But Hope's laugh, sharp, bitter, wounded, cut him off. "A mistake," she repeated. "A mistake doesn't happen repeatedly. A mistake isn't something you hide until someone else reveals it. A mistake doesn't ruin a family. But you've done this over and over again. To me. To Steffi. To yourself." The room had shifted into a movie scene. Slow motion, heavy breaths, trembling hands, heartbreak painted across faces. Even Bill Spencer, standing stiffly near the back, looked stunned. His jaw was tight, his eyes bouncing between Liam and Hope, horrified that his son had once again shattered something precious. But even Bill, who had defended Liam through so many scandals, couldn't speak. Not this time. There was no defense. No excuse. No justification. Hope took a step away from the altar, then another, her heels clicking like the final punctuation of a sentence she never thought she'd have to write. Every step felt like she was peeling herself away from a future that had been built on lies. And as she moved, the room parted for her, guests forming a silent pathway through which she walked, veil trembling behind her like a ghost of the life she almost chose. Brooke followed, but slowly, giving Hope space, knowing that her daughter needed air more than comfort. Ridge exhaled hard, rubbing his forehead as if even he couldn't believe how catastrophically the day had collapsed. Steffi shot Liam a look so sharp it could cut steel. A mixture of disappointment, disbelief, and fury. Finn kept an arm around Luna, who was shaking, devastated that her own sister had contributed to such a disaster. Luni finally stepped forward, trying to reach Hope, to explain, to apologize, to beg for forgiveness, but security blocked her gently. It wasn't the time. It wasn't the place. And Hope, hearing her voice from behind, didn't even turn. She couldn't. If she did, she might collapse under the weight of everything. She moved through the chapel's double doors and out into the hallway, where she finally let herself breathe, though the air felt sharp and insufficient. Outside, the world continued like nothing had happened. Birds chirped. Sunlight warmed the pavement. Flowers swayed in the breeze. It felt cruel. As if the universe didn't care that her heart had just been ripped apart. She leaned against a column, finally letting a tear fall. Then another, then dozens. Her chest heaved. Her hands trembled. Her entire body felt like a fragile sculpture holding itself together by force alone. Inside, chaos erupted. Ridge demanded answers. Brooke yelled at Liam, furious that he had betrayed her daughter again. Steffi looked disgusted, muttering under her breath about Liam being incapable of changing. Bill looked broken, angry at his son but more angry at himself for raising a man who kept destroying the women he claimed to love. And Luni, emotionally crushed, confessed everything, her voice shaky but honest, saying she couldn't keep the secret anymore, that she felt guilty every single day, that she didn't want Hope walking into a marriage built on lies. Luna cried quietly, heartbroken not only for Hope but for her own family, which seemed cursed with secrets that always detonated at the worst possible times. Finn held her, whispering that she wasn't responsible for her sister's choices, trying to anchor her as guilt consumed her. But for Hope there was no sound, no chaos, only silence. Deep, cold, echoing silence that followed her as she walked across the courtyard, leaving behind the wedding that would never happen, the vows that would never be spoken, the future that had just crumbled in the most public, painful way imaginable. And as she stepped through the gates, the only certainty she carried with her was this: the wedding was cancelled, the dream was dead, and this time she wasn't going back. After the wedding collapse, Hope walks away, Liam falls apart, and Luni's confession tears the families apart. The hallway outside the chapel was long, quiet, and painted with the kind of soft neutral colors that usually made guests feel calm. But today the walls felt like they were closing in on Hope as she walked, breath shaking, vision blurring. Every step she took echoed like a reminder of everything she had lost in the span of a few devastating minutes. The soft hum of distant conversations, the muffled sounds of the still confused guests inside, all of it blurred around her. She didn't want to hear anything. She didn't want to see anyone. She wanted to escape, to find a place where the shame couldn't reach her, where eyes full of pity wouldn't follow her, where Liam's voice begging her to listen wouldn't haunt every corner of her mind. She reached the dressing suite, the private room where she had prepared earlier that morning. The place still smelled like perfume and bridal hairspray. The chair she had sat in while Brooke pinned her veil was still slightly pulled out. Her bouquet lay on the vanity untouched, a symbol of the love she thought she had. She closed the door behind her and leaned against it, finally collapsing into a sob that felt like it came from years of heartbreak, compressed into a single moment. Her hands shook so violently she barely recognized them. She pressed them against her chest, trying to slow the storm raging inside her, but the pain only grew. Her reflection stared back at her from the mirror. The sparkling veil, the soft curls, the delicate makeup. Everything designed for a bride who no longer existed. She didn't even feel like the same person. She felt hollow, stripped, broken in places she didn't even know were vulnerable. She walked up to the mirror slowly, the room spinning with each step, and when she reached it, she whispered to her reflection, "I should have known." Those 4 words cut deeper than anything Liam had said, deeper than anything Luni had confessed, deeper than any betrayal she had ever faced. She wasn't blaming herself, not truly, but there was a cruel familiarity to this pain. Liam disappointing her. Liam breaking promises. Liam letting his heart wander. Liam choosing someone else. It had happened before. It had become a pattern so predictable that part of her wondered why she had ever thought she could outrun it. And yet she had believed. She had hoped. She had fought for the possibility that he had changed, that this time their love would survive. A knock shattered the air. "Hope? Honey, please just open the door," Brooke's voice pleaded from the other side. Hope closed her eyes, tears sliding down her cheeks in steady streams. She didn't want her mother to see her like this, destroyed, humiliated, stripped of all the hope that had defined her entire identity. But Brooke's voice trembled in that familiar way that meant she wasn't going away. Hope wiped her face, took a shaky breath and cracked the door open. Brooke stepped in slowly, her eyes immediately softening, breaking, filling with tears of her own when she saw her daughter. "Oh, sweetheart," she whispered, pulling Hope into her arms. Hope let herself collapse for a few seconds, feeling the comfort of her mother's embrace, but she quickly pulled away, shaking her head. "Don't," she managed through tears. "Please. I can't be held together right now. I need to feel this." Brooke nodded, swallowing her own heartbreak. "I understand. But I want you to know none of this is your fault. None of it." Hope looked away, her chest tightening. "It's just, how many times can someone break the same heart before it stops healing?" Brooke didn't answer. She couldn't, because even she didn't know how to protect Hope from this pain anymore. Meanwhile, back inside the chapel, the atmosphere was rapidly unraveling. Liam stood frozen near the altar, pale, shaking, looking like a man who had just watched his future walk out the door and slam shut behind her. Everything inside him felt like it had collapsed. He had expected anger, even fury, But the cold finality in Hope's voice when she canceled the wedding had pierced him in a way he wasn't prepared for. He had never seen her so resolute, so unreachable, so determined to stop the cycle they had been trapped in for years. Bill approached him slowly, jaw tight, eyes fiery with a mixture of shame and disbelief. "Liam, what the hell did you do?" Bill asked, voice low, dangerous. Liam swallowed hard, staring at the floor. "I made a mistake," he whispered. "A mistake," Bill echoed sharply. "Sleeping with someone else while you were planning a wedding is not a mistake. It's self-destruction. And now look at you. Look at what you've lost." Liam shook his head, tears burning his eyes. "Dad, I never meant." Bill cut him off. "Intentions don't matter anymore. Reality does. You broke her. Again." Nearby, Steffi stood with arms crossed tightly, shaking her head in disbelief. "This is unbelievable," she muttered to Finn. He had everything he ever wanted. Hope finally trusted him again. And he threw it away for what? A hookup with Luna's sister. Finn squeezed her hand but watched Liam with quiet judgment. "He's spiraling," Finn said. "But that doesn't excuse any of it." Steffi's voice lowered into something more raw. "I defended him. I told people he changed. And now he's humiliated Hope in front of our entire families." Liam heard it, and the shame sank deeper. At the back of the chapel, Luni stood frozen, devastated, the gravity of what she had triggered crashing into her. Luna approached her slowly, disbelief heavy in her steps. "Luni, why?" Luna whispered. Luni's hands trembled. "I never meant for it to go this far. I never wanted to hurt you or Hope or anyone. I couldn't keep lying anymore. I couldn't watch her walk into a marriage that wasn't real." Luna's jaw tightened. "But you didn't tell her to help her. You told her because you were drowning in guilt." Tears filled Luna's eyes. "And because of you, everything just fell apart." Luni broke, sobbing. "I'm sorry. I swear I'm so sorry." But Luna shook her head, stepping back. "Sorry doesn't fix this. Sorry can't undo what you did with Liam. You betrayed Hope, you betrayed me. You betrayed everyone." Luni covered her face with her hands and wept. Rich finally stepped forward, voice rising above the chaos. "Everyone, enough," he snapped. "We need to give Hope space, and we need answers from Liam." All eyes turned to Liam. "What happened?" Rich demanded. "Tell the truth." Liam swallowed hard. His throat tightened. "Luni and it happened months ago. During a time when Hope and I were struggling. I was confused. I was hurt. I was stupid." "No," Rich snapped. "You were selfish." Liam couldn't argue. He dropped his head, hands shaking. Rich continued. "You had the chance to finally be the man Hope deserved. And you threw it away." Everyone watched in heavy silence as Liam broke down, finally letting the tears fall. But the damage was done. And Hope, the center of it all, was alone in the dressing room, staring at the bouquet she once held with so much joy. She lifted it slowly, her fingers brushing the soft petals. Then with a quiet, broken sigh, she placed it down again. Brooke sat beside her, brushing a strand of hair behind Hope's ear. "Tell me what you're thinking," Brooke whispered gently. Hope shook her head. "I'm thinking that I refuse to spend another year, another day, waiting for Liam to grow up." Her voice trembled but gained strength. "I'm thinking that I deserve better. I deserve someone who won't betray me. I deserve peace." Brooke nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. "You do. You always have." Hope inhaled shakily, pressing her palms into her dress. "The fact that he could look me in the eyes this morning, knowing what he did, knowing what he hid," her voice cracked. "That's unforgivable." Brooke squeezed her hand gently. "Then don't forgive him." Hope looked up, and for the first time since the truth had come out, a flicker of clarity entered her eyes. Inside the chapel, the family dynamics were unraveling further. Luna approached Finn again, but this time she was trembling. "I can't believe Luni did this," she whispered. "She kept this from me. She kept this from everyone." Finn pulled her close gently. "You're not responsible for her choices." "But she's my sister," Luna cried. "My sister just destroyed Hope's life, and Liam helped her do it." Finn kissed the side of her head softly. "This isn't your fault. None of this is on you." But Luna couldn't shake the guilt. Ridge, still fuming, marched toward the foyer. I'm going to find Hope, he said. Bill stepped forward. No. She needs space. Ridge shot him a cold look. Your son did this. Don't pretend you suddenly understand emotional boundaries. Bill's jaw pulsed, but he didn't respond. Meanwhile, Liam finally walked out of the chapel, his legs barely holding him up. His mind was spinning. His heart was pounding. He needed Hope. He needed to explain, to beg, to try anything. So he stumbled down the hall toward the dressing suite, driven by desperation. Inside, Hope heard footsteps, heavy ones, uneven ones, the kind that belonged to a man who had just lost everything. Brooke looked toward the door. Honey, you don't have to talk to him. Hope's breath hitched. I know. The door handle turned. Brooke stood up immediately. Liam, now is not the time. But Liam didn't care. He pushed the door open, eyes red, face broken. Hope, he whispered, voice cracking as he took a trembling step toward her. Hope stood, taking a step back. Don't, she warned sharply. Don't come any closer. Liam froze. Brooke positioned herself between them. You need to leave, she said, voice firm but quivering with anger. Right now. Liam shook his head. I just need to talk to her. Please. Just give me 5 minutes. Hope stepped around Brooke, standing on her own, shoulders stiffening with strength. 5 minutes won't erase what you did, she said. Nothing will. Liam blinked, stunned by her coldness, a coldness she had never shown him before. Hope, please. I made a mistake. I was confused. I didn't know. No, she said. You knew exactly what you were doing. He swallowed hard. I love you. Hope laughed, a hollow, heartbreaking sound. If you loved me, you wouldn't have touched another woman. Liam shook his head frantically. She meant nothing. Hope cut him off sharply. Then why didn't you tell me? Why did you hide it until her sister had to stand up at my wedding and destroy everything? Liam's mouth opened, but no answer came. Hope's eyes burned. You would have let me marry you knowing this? Knowing you had betrayed me? You stood there at the altar smiling at me, pretending everything was perfect. Liam's voice broke. I didn't want to lose you. Hope stepped closer, her expression fierce but wounded. You lost me the moment you chose her. Silence. Heavy. Crushing. Hopeless. Liam collapsed into a chair, face in his hands, sobbing. Hope watched him, but her expression didn't soften. Brooke put a hand on Hope's arm. Let's go home, she whispered. You don't need to stay here another second. Hope nodded slowly. Yes. I want to leave. Liam lifted his head. Hope, please don't go. But Hope didn't look back. She walked out of the dressing suite, out of the hallway, out of the building entirely, moving like someone who had finally reached the breaking point of a lifetime. Brooke followed closely but gave her daughter space, letting her lead. Outside, the sun had shifted, no longer bright and warm but sharp, glaring, almost mocking. Hope crossed the courtyard, tears trailing silently down her cheeks, dress dragging across the pavement like the remnants of a dream. Liam stumbled after her, but Bill grabbed his arm. Let her go, Bill said softly, for once speaking gently instead of fiercely. Liam choked out a broken sob. But I love her. I can't lose her. Not again. Bill's grip tightened. Son, you already did. And at that moment, Hope reached the car waiting for her at the driveway. She opened the door, paused for one last breath, and whispered to herself, this is the end. Then she got inside, closed the door, and the car pulled away, taking her into a future where Liam Spencer no longer had a place.